The Aztecs, or Mexica, weren't always the rulers of central Mexico. They arrived in the Valley of Mexico in the 14th century as outsiders, wandering migrants searching for a place to settle. According to their own legends, their people have been traveling for generations, guided by prophecies from their gods that promised them a future homeland. The story goes that their priests told them they would one day find a sacred sign, an eagle perched on a cactus, devouring a serpent. Wherever that sign appeared would become their destined city. Eventually, on a small island in Lake Texcoco, they believed they found it. To others, the location looked terrible. It was swampy, surrounded by water, and difficult to build on. But the Mexica saw opportunity where others saw weakness. Within decades, they transformed this unlikely island into one of the greatest cities in the world. Through clever alliances, brutal warfare, and strategic marriages, they expanded their control over neighboring city-states and tribes. Their influence grew steadily until they became the dominant power in the region. What began as a struggling migrant group soon evolved into a powerful empire that demanded tribute from dozens of surrounding regions. Their capital, Tenochtitlan, was unlike anything Europeans had ever seen. Built on an island in Lake Texcoco, it featured canals instead of streets, causeways connecting the city to the mainland, and massive pyramids that towered over the skyline. Some historians estimate that by the early 1500s, Tenochtitlan may have held over 200,000 people, making it one of the largest cities on Earth at the time. Visitors described a city that was clean, organized, and astonishingly advanced. Fresh water flowed through aqueducts. Farmers used floating gardens called chinampas to grow food directly on the lake. Markets buzzed with activity every day as merchants sold everything from maize and cacao to exotic feathers and precious stones. Travelers marveled at its markets filled with gold, exotic foods, and colorful textiles. Some accounts claimed you could walk across the market and see more riches than in all of Spain. To outsiders, the city appeared almost magical. Religion shaped everything in Aztec life. The Aztecs believed the universe was fragile and required constant nourishment from the gods. In return, humans were expected to repay that divine sacrifice with offerings of their own. The gods demanded human blood to keep the world in balance, and priests performed thousands of sacrifices every year. While this may seem shocking today, to the Aztecs, it was a sacred duty, a necessary act to ensure the sun would rise and the world would continue. Warriors were revered in Aztec society. Young boys were trained from an early age to become soldiers. Capturing enemies in battle was considered one of the greatest honors a man could achieve. Military service was not just about expansion, it was deeply tied to religion and status. Yet beneath the impressive order, political tension simmered. Many tribes were forced to pay heavy tribute to the Aztecs in the form of food, precious goods, or prisoners for sacrifice. Some tribes hated Aztec rule and quietly plotted rebellion, waiting for an opportunity to join forces with outsiders, and that opportunity would arrive sooner than anyone expected. In 1519, Hernán Cortés arrived on the Gulf Coast with just 600 men, 16 horses, and a handful of cannons. Compared to the vast populations of the Aztec Empire, this tiny expedition seemed almost insignificant. Yet history often turns on unlikely moments. Cortés was ambitious, ruthless, and extremely clever. He quickly realized that defeating the Aztecs directly would be impossible. Instead, he exploited the divisions within the empire. He made alliances with tribes oppressed by Aztec rule, promising them freedom and revenge. Thousands of indigenous warriors soon joined his forces. Another factor worked in his favor: a prophecy. The Aztecs believed that a feathered serpent god, Quetzalcoatl, would one day return from the east. Rumors spread that Cortés might be this god, or at least some kind of divine messenger. Not everyone believed the prophecy, but the uncertainty created hesitation amongst the Aztec leadership. Fear, superstition, and politics all worked in the Spaniards' favor as they marched toward Tenochtitlan. Montezuma II, the Aztec emperor, faced a difficult dilemma. Should he fight these strange newcomers immediately, or attempt diplomacy? Choosing caution, he invited Cortés into the city with lavish gifts of gold, jewels, and fine foods. To the Aztecs, these gifts were symbols of generosity and diplomacy. To the Spaniards, however, they were proof of unimaginable wealth. And wealth was exactly what many conquistadors had come seeking. But this hospitality proved fatal. Cortés soon captured Montezuma, holding the emperor hostage within his own palace. From that moment forward, the balance of power inside the city began to shift. Cortés used Montezuma as a puppet ruler to control the population and keep the peace. But the illusion didn't last long. The emperor, once seen as a godlike figure, was now a prisoner. Citizens grew angry and restless as they realized their leader had lost control. Tensions simmered beneath the surface of the city, and within months, the cracks in Aztec loyalty widened, setting the stage for a violent revolt. In 1520, the situation finally exploded. After a massacre carried out by Spanish soldiers during a religious festival, the people of Tenochtitlan rose up in fury. The city erupted into chaos. Aztec warriors attacked the Spanish forces from rooftops, canals, and narrow streets. Realizing they could no longer hold the city, the Spaniards attempted a desperate escape during the night. Many of them were killed while trying to flee across the causeways. The event became known as La Noche Triste, the Night of Sorrows. But the Spaniards had already brought with them a far deadlier weapon than swords: smallpox. The disease spread rapidly through the dense city. The Aztecs had never encountered it before, and they had no immunity. Within months, tens of thousands of people died. The disease struck everyone: warriors, farmers, priests, and leaders. Even Montezuma himself perished during this turbulent period. Some estimates suggest that within a year, nearly half the population of the region had died. The city, once a marvel of engineering and culture, was devastated from within before the final siege even began. By 1521, Cortés returned with reinforcements. This time, he did not come alone. He brought thousands of indigenous allies who wanted to see the Aztecs defeated. Together, they surrounded Tenochtitlan and began a brutal siege. Aztec warriors fought bravely, defending their city street by street and canal by canal. But disease and starvation had weakened them severely. The Spaniards cut off food and water supplies. They blockaded the canals and used small boats armed with cannons to attack the city. Day by day, the once magnificent capital was reduced to rubble. The fighting was relentless. Temples burned, buildings collapsed, and the population struggled simply to survive. Within months, the Aztec Empire, which had dominated Mesoamerica for centuries, was no more. Why did such a powerful empire fall so quickly? Several factors combined to create a perfect storm. Alliances with rebellious tribes provided Cortés with thousands of extra warriors. Advanced weaponry, including steel swords, armor, firearms, and cavalry gave the Spaniards a decisive edge in battle. Smallpox and other European diseases devastated a population with no immunity, and internal divisions weakened the empire from within. The fall wasn't the result of one battle. It was the convergence of strategy, betrayal, technology, and misfortune. After Tenochtitlan fell, the Spaniards destroyed much of the city. In its place, they began constructing a new colonial capital, Mexico City. Spanish rule introduced a new religion, language, and system of governance. Much of Aztec culture was suppressed or erased, yet traces survived. Aztec traditions, art, and language still echo through Mexican culture today. The story of the Aztec Empire reminds us how quickly even the most powerful civilizations can collapse when multiple forces collide. The fall of the Aztec Empire is a story of ambition, courage, betrayal, and tragedy. It shows how quickly fortune can turn, and how history often unfolds in unexpected ways. If you enjoyed this journey into one of the most dramatic chapters of history, make sure to subscribe and explore our other videos covering incredible stories from around the world.